friends, welcome to Kavita's classroom. So far we have been talking about consumers and today we are to begin with the term producer. So after consumer equilibrium, we are beginning to know about the different aspects of production and producer, right? So before beginning, once again, I request all of you to like, share and subscribe my videos. So the chapter begins with the term production function. And when I say production function, we must know what is production at all. Production means when we unite land, labor, capital, entrepreneur, which are said to be the factors of production, then we get to have the output or the quantity, right? So when we express it in this format, Qx is equal to F of L and K. It means this is production function wherein we are talking about that output of this much quantity is a factor of labor and capital. So we have, for the sake of convenience and ease, simply taken two factors, one human and the other non-human. With this equation, let's move ahead. And we know that production function is a functional relationship. If we increase right side, we would definitely have an increase on the left-hand side. If any reduction happens on the right-hand side, that again eventually be leading to the decrease in the left-hand side, right? So moving ahead further, to know about the production, let's understand some aspects related to the production. What are fixed and variable factors? Right. The moment I say fixed factors, what flashes across my mind? Land and building, plant and machinery. So these are the factors of production which are fixed in nature. It means we do not change these factors if we want to change the volume. Right. But what comes when you say variable? Variable means which keep on varying. Varying means we do change the volume of output when we require by changing these factors of production. And what are these? These are the labor. These are the inputs like raw materials, semi-processed finished goods. These things are variable in nature and we change whenever we need to have more or less of the volume, right? Short-term production function means when the production can be increased only by increasing the variable inputs, keeping fixed factors fixed. And this is beautifully explained with the help of this expression that quantity is a function of labor and fixed capital. See, K bar is written here that there is a fixity of capital. We would not be increasing the capital or the fixed inputs, but we would increase the quantity only by increasing the labor. See, how is it given here? That if the traditional example is, traditional means this is what happens, a fictitious figure, that by combining 5 labors and 4 units of capital, we get to have 40 units of output generated. So if we want to increase 40 to 45, what would happen? I need to have more of labor, but I'll keep the fixed factor. Fixed means the capital remains the same. So if we are giving these two expressions, it means we are talking about the short-term variable function, short-term production function. And how do we represent it? With the help of diagram, that capital remains the same and with increase in labor from L1 to L2, we are able to increase the output from K1 to K2, right? And long-term relation, how do we express? Long-term production function is where there is no fixity of any factor, labor as well as capital can be increased to increase the output. So if we have 40 units generated by 5 labor and 4 capital, so what happens next if we want to increase it or just double it? So we would be doubling the labor as well as the capital. So here this is increased by increasing both of the inputs irrespective of their nature of fixity or variable, right? And how do we express it diagrammatically? That here, if with the help of this much of capital and this much of labor, the units are produced and this is the reference point. So more of capital and more of labor would be required to produce till this much, right? So the differences between the short term and long term would be, the very first thing is the factor ratio tends to change here and the factors ratio doesn't change here. What do you mean by this? Let me give you an example to express my idea. So if we are talking about short term and long term, this is the example that say land remains the same, 1, 1, 1, 1, and labor becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It means if we need to increase the output, what are we doing? We are increasing only labor, right? So if you talk about the input ratio here is 1:1, 1:2, 1:3, 1:4, means at every point it is changing. That's why we say in short run, we have the factor ratio, it changes, right? But what happens in long run? Long run, for example, if land and labor is taken and if we are to increase the output. So say, for example, we have assumed that at one point, a piece of land, we need to have two people working on it. So if we want to double the output, we would be doubling altogether. If we want to just make the output 10 times, we would be having the 10 times ratio, means labor also would be increased 10 times. So just check the ratio here, 1:2, 1:2, 1:2. So at every point of time, there is no change in the factor input ratio, right? Now, the output is increased by only the variable factors here, all factors increase to increase the output. In different words, some authors do write that in long run, there is no fixed factor, means fixity of a factor simply changes. If we want to increase the scale of operation, we simply go for additional units of fixed factors as well, like machine, land and building, everything is increased. Here the scale of output remains constant, but here scale of output tends to change, and we simply try to increase everything, means even the fixed factors, to increase the output. Hence the scale of operation changes, and here it is called returns to a factor, it is returns to a scale. This is the law which is applicable, right? So to proceed any further, let's have an understanding of basic concepts of TP, AP and MP. Mind you, TP, AP, and MP, these three terms, total, average, and marginal, are used in every chapter of production and of consumer also, right? In cost, in revenue, in production, in utility, everywhere. And they mean the same, only the formulas change on account of the second thing, like TUMU, TPMP, TCMC, right? So the basic context remains the same, like all marginals combine to make the total, and the difference in the total values is the value of marginal, and average is nothing but total divided by the quantity. So let's have it, like for this example, they have taken, say, first person has contributed 10 units, then other has given 12, 15, 12, 10, 10, 6, whatever, right? So when we talk about the total means the sum of all the marginal units. This is how we get to have the total. So total is 65 here, right? When we talk about marginal means what's the addition made by every additional unit, right? So we try to compare the two consecutive totals. So if this is the total, see, MPN is equal to TPN minus TPN minus 1. If we're talking about the additional production made by the 10th person who came for the production. So we'll check out what is the total after he came and what was the total before he came, right? So this formula becomes MPN is equal to TPN minus TPN minus 1. So here they are just trying to check that what's the increase in the output when the labor changed from 5 to 6, means we are talking about sixth person's contribution. So the total after 6th and total before 6th is checked, and the difference is the answer, right? And then we say average is nothing but TP by L. So this also tells you another formula of TP, that TP is equal to 1 sum of all MPs, and TP also is equal to AP into L, right? So this way, a table can be given to you, and where in some zigzag data would be given to you, like TP is given here and this is not given. Then they have not given TP here, but they have given the average, and marginal is not given. So we can easily find out the whole table if we know any one value at any one level, right? For example, if TP is given at first level, so average would be 50 by 1, that is 50, and marginal would be 50, because so far we have the transition from 0 to 1, right? Then if AP is given 45 and rest of the things are not given, so how do we find T? So 45 multiplied by 2 at second level gives you total, right? And if we just check the change, from 50 it has come out to be 90. So what has been contributed by second? It's 90 minus 50, that gets you 40. So whatever value is given, if any one value is given, you can find the rest of the values of the table very easily. And this is how the questions would be put up to you in your examination. Yes, there is another thing, negative MP. Is it possible at all? Yes, in the real world, we do find it, but the rational producer just gets to have the indication that this is a high time and I need to change. Right. It is sometimes seen like excessive employment of the people reduces the overall efficiency of the workers. Like we need 1:3 ratio, one fixed factor and three variable factors. But if we just keep on adding variable factors, only variable, and we are not giving an increase of fixed factor, so the every additional person who is coming would not be contributing highly, in fact would be ruining the efficiency of others also. So this is the situation of negative MP. And then some examples are given how the question is asked in the papers. With this, we close this session of learning, and in the next lecture, we would be talking about the returns to a factor, which is also called law of variable proportions. Till then, keep studying hard and get back to me for any queries if you have. God bless. Good luck.